design, and so one of the things we recognized are people are doing a design model in one application and then needing to move into Revit for design documentation. And what we are trying to do with Formit is make that process a lot smoother. So you're starting conceptual design in Formit, moving on into Revit, kind of flowing back and forth between those two applications, and then moving forward with Revit.
Great. Excellent. So where do you go into... Maybe I lost my question. Maybe you want to ask this next.
Like to echo what you just said, the common problem in industry that we've always run into is you design one way, right? You design one tool and it breaks the chain, right? There's no more essentially flow of data amongst it. So Formit effectively has that interoperability with Revit.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So it's always been able to import Formit masses into Revit. So it's a lot easier to use in the Revit conceptual design environment, which I am a Revit expert, and I still get challenged sometime in that. Some of the interactions are very Revit-y, and so for designers and the way that they like to work, it's more of sketching, drawing a line, pulling a face, and being able to work a lot more flexibly. So from the get-go, that's kind of been Formit's MO, is that it's a flexible design tool that flows into Revit. We've more features over time, so now you can even categorize stuff that you've made in Formit, so that when it comes into Revit, it's already set up as that category. And if it's a family, it's repeated, and so it kind of has that family nature built into it. One of the other features we did is that if you've got Revit families, you can actually bring those and use them in Formit to help your design, so that you're not remaking the wheel every kind of reusing the content that you've already got.
Yeah, iterative workflow, sort of going back and forth between them, and that's a big deal to our customers. Where we've heard from a lot of customers that said, I designed something in SketchUp and I lose it when I go to Revit. I have to remodel it, and nobody likes to lose their work. And when they remodel it, they might miss some things, or the model fidelity goes down. So we're trying to solve that problem.
Great. Yeah, I speak to that firsthand. I've thrown away plenty of hours of work in one model just to recreate the wheel. So. Be good to have that influx. I also understand in early on design, conceptual design, there's also a wing that is more energy focused. Analysis wise, can you guys give us some insight to that?
Good one. I like it. It's a good customer quote from B&IM Architects in Kansas City. They are using Formit and were demoing with a client, and they went from model to energy analysis in less than an hour. So it's one of those early design tools that should influence the design, and sometimes it's incorporated too late. So we're trying to bring insight in from day one. So one of the other things that's nice about Formit is that it runs on your tablet also, and the Insight connection even runs on your tablet. So if you have an Android device or the iPad or the iPad Pro, as I see Stephen over there has, then you're using the Apple Pencil and you're able to work very quickly wherever you are. You don't have to be in front of your laptop or in front of your desktop. You can be on a plane. You can be at home on the couch.
So you literally could use the Apple Pencil and use that as, let's say, a substitute for the mouse. And be able to just draft. That is pretty wild. Who do you find actually utilizing these tools? What is the biggest demographic for it?
Yeah, there's kind of two profiles that we're aiming for, and one is the design principal in the office who has a lot of work to do, but not a lot of time to do it. So they might be on the road in airplanes winning work, and so they're sketching out ideas to send back to the design team. So that was kind of the initial idea with using the iPad, is that it's a very flexible, fast way to iterate. And then the second is more design architects who are going to start working on the Revit model, and so making that transition back and forth. And Josh, you can probably speak to this more from industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So this solves a problem that we would run into at the firm. I worked at an architecture firm for a couple of years, and so that is the other demographic, is sort of the guys that are where the rubber meets the road, where you have to start translating this thing into a real project, a real built thing, and not getting contractors to understand what's happening, what your design intent is. So it's sort of it straddles between these two kind of personalities at the firm.
Sure. So pretty much splitting from conceptual design into early on DD packages, stuff like that.
Yeah, and even later, there's another customer example where they wanted to do a sculptural staircase, and they had a Revit model kind of built up into design development, probably even construction documents, and found the Revit stair tool lacking in the precision that they wanted to have. So they took a segment of the building, exported it to Formit, worked there to design the staircase, and then brought just the stair geometry and plopped it right back into place in the Revit model.
Great.
So it's sort of a more flexible family environment. There's a lot of different applications for it, but it's kind of nice, kind of what Josh was saying, the iterating back and forth is that designers will kind of hit the wall with a piece that they're trying to explore in Revit.
Of course.
So they just need to be in a more flexible environment and then not lose that work when they need to go back into documentation.
Totally. I can totally see that. Revit does a great job of kind of that documentation. It does a great job of hard modeling, but if you're trying to do conceptual stuff where you need that flexibility,
That can be a little
totally see
limiting.
that. Absolutely. I've definitely heard that plenty of times from customers. So
Yeah. So jump out of Revit and Formit.
yeah, right.
Go
Go
Formit.
get on Formit. Definitely.
So this is pretty awesome stuff. Would you want to take a moment and show us some?
You
some of
bet.
this?
And you can see the screen now?
Switch
You
over.
are good.
Okay, so I'll jump out and, so we've mentioned Formit, a couple of different environments. There's Formit on the iPad, Formit on Android devices. There's also Formit on the web. So I'm on my MacBook here, so I could be using Formit from any web browser like Chrome or Firefox. And then there's also Formit on a Windows desktop that's installed. So Steven set me up that we're ported into desktop. So this is our Windows application that is installed side by side with Revit if you wanted to. And the nice thing about this is that you can work with satellite image in the background and get your context there. I've built up this simple context model of downtown Denver right outside the window. You guys
Awesome.
can't see it, but imagine a new building being built in downtown Denver, if
Sure.
you can imagine. Literally
It's
right
a lot of
outside.
construction in this area.
Yeah. So the thing that's neat about this is I created this from a Dynamo script. This was put together with aid from the Dynamo team. Josh has spent a lot of time making some very amazing custom scripts. And that's another kind of differentiator that's important to point out with Formit, is that we work with a bunch of other Autodesk applications early on. So the Dynamo piece, you can mass out your building very quickly, and these blue lines that you can see here are actually level datums that are slicing through this building. So when I import this model into Revit, those levels will translate into real Revit levels, and I'll be able to generate floor plans from them right away.
Right.
So again, that's a nice differentiator. You don't have to spend time tracing out a floor plan and then copying and pasting it out
Sure.
anymore. You can just generate it from your mass. We have some area information over here on the right-hand side of the panel, gross target area, and then even you can plug in your site area and generate a floor area ratio calculation in just a couple of minutes.
Very quickly.
So again, that's just kind of the idea, is very quickly get some feedback on your pro forma. Is this going to work out? Or am I way off base?
Yeah, sure.
So the satellite image and the level data is just, those are great. Those are differentiators that Formit has that other applications just don't have from the get-go.
Sure.
There's a couple other pieces that I wanted to point out, and they're not necessarily here on the Windows side. So if I jump over to the Mac side of my computer, are you still seeing my screen?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is just a quick demo of our importer. So Formit wants to be a friendly player in the design ecosystem. So if you do have models that were created in another application, you can import them here very quickly with very high fidelity. So there's some things that I've made myself, like this piano that I modeled in Formit, but there's other things like this bench that were imported that brought their materials with them, and that now I can bring on to Revit or just use them here in Formit too.
Great.
So trying to be very, again, nice and friendly in the environment. And if you've already got projects that you've started, go ahead and bring those on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it seems like you're able to, I guess to put it in terms where, I don't have much experience with Formit, but it's a matter of just taking your mass model, your mass design conceptual model, and your design problem, and you're able to solve a lot of the variables using Formit before you even get into authoring software like Revit, where you're going into that hyper accurate detail. And as you're showing us right here, it's very simple, just push pull, simple
That's right.
3D commands that you'd find in almost any 3D design software.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people who had experienced Formit. It's only, gosh, we're a 3-year-old application, maybe 2 years old. And so if you've experienced it in the past where it was just a simple massing tool on the iPad, go ahead and take another look at it. Now that it's been plugged into a Windows environment too, it's a lot more robust of a software. The modeling engine has just gotten better and better as we've gone on.
Right.
So, and this is where I, again, defer to Josh. You've used a lot of different conceptual design applications, so maybe you could say what some of the things that you really enjoy about Formit.
Yeah, some of the things you just showed right there, like you were push-pulling that element and it kind of came right into the angle and it just disappeared. That's really nice. That's really robust, and so a designer can say, you know, I want to adjust the shape a little bit, and I don't have to worry about the modeler not getting what I want to do. It's just it's going to do it. And so some of the stuff that we've done, the advanced modeling things, there's ways to shell 3D solids and loft things that are built right into the application, and so these are tools that people who are coming from some of the other design softwares would look for, maybe as a plugin, but we do it right out of the box, and we do it really well. And so it's fast, it's intuitive, it's simple, it's powerful. Our modeling is really, really great, and it's actually fun to use.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming in today and spending some time, and thank you for everybody watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.